What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So now that we're less than 3 weeks away from the first NHL regular season game, because you got to remember the Devils and the Sabres are opening up the season over in goddamn Czechia like 5 to 6 days before the actual proper opening night, I need to start rolling out my predictions. And we're going to start with my award predictions before I go into my regular season and postseason predictions. And we're going to split it into two parts because there's so many goddamn awards to talk about. And in this part one, we're going to be doing the Jack Adams, the Selke, the Jim Gregory, and lastly, the Calder trophy. And of course, this is based on how I think these players, coaches, and general managers are all going to perform, how the teams are going to perform. I haven't like fully locked in every single standing prediction quite yet, but I'm pretty confident in these award predictions. And I'm also factoring in like how the voters kind of vote based on how I think it's going to go, especially you look at something like the next part in the Vezina, how their criteria is a little bit different than my own. But these are my projected top five. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm not going to go like fifth, fourth, third, second, first. I'm just going to throw out my ballot. If you've seen my other videos on these kind of awards things, I throw up the full 1 through 5 ballot, and then we just talk about it. We just fully divulge into why I think this is. And up first, we're going to do the Jack Adams, the best coach in the NHL. And when looking at recent Jack Adams winners, I think that a new head coach is going to win this, a new head coach at a new spot, being Sheldon Keefe. When looking at a guy like Jim Montgomery, the Boston Bruins were a playoff team, but he comes in, elevates their overall production as the best regular season of all time. Rick Tocchet gets hired at the end of or middle of last year. They missed the playoffs. Following year, they make the playoffs. Sheldon Keefe with the New Jersey Devils this year is in such a prime, ideal, media-driven storyline that he can potentially ride to a Jack Adams win. Am I saying the New Jersey Devils are going to be a 115-point President Trophy winning team? No, but the fact that this team only had 81 points last year and they improved so much, shored up their defense, got Jacob Markstrom. I'm not saying that Sheldon Keefe might not do the best coaching job in the entire NHL, but when looking at people in the best possible position to win the Jack Adams, I think Sheldon Keefe by far has the best odds heading into the season, and I'm obviously high in the New Jersey Devils. If you watch this goddamn channel at all, next up, I got Chris Knobloch. I think the Oilers are probably going to be my President's Trophy pick, and considering the fact just how good he was at the final, whatever, he had the best record in the entire NHL once he was hired for the Edmonton Oilers. So I think it's going to be a little bit hard for him to win it, considering how good he was last year, and they made Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. But I can definitely see a finalist spot if the Edmonton Oilers go on to win the President's Trophy. John Hynes. I don't think John Hynes is that good of a coach. After watching him for so many years in New Jersey, he wasn't that good in Nashville, but I think the Minnesota Wild, they're probably most likely going to make the playoffs. And under John Hynes, they were around the 98, 99-point team last season. So I'm decently high in the Minnesota Wild. And going back to that same theory of like a Rick Tocchet last year, a team that he gets hired midseason and then the following season, then they kind of really pop. I can definitely see John Hynes being a finalist. Travis Green, I think Ottawa's going to be battling for a playoff spot. I'll spoil that right here. I think they're going to be battling for one. I can't see them yet again being below 80 points after finally getting a goddamn goaltender. So I think the Ottawa Senators are going to be much improved. Similarly to John Hynes, do I think Travis Green's that good of a head coach? Not really, but he's in that prime situation. If Ottawa, even if they just barely miss out on the playoffs, he's rightfully so going to get a lot of Jack Adams award votes, considering how incompetent Ottawa has been in the last couple of seasons. He just has so much room for improvement with that room. And then lastly, Andrew Brunette. In my opinion, I think that he should have won the Jack Adams last year. Not saying Rick Tocchet was not a deserving winner, but it's going to be tough for him to potentially win it, especially given the fact that Nashville did so much this offseason. He's a arguably top 3 coach in the entire NHL this season, and I think Nashville is only going to build on a very solid season last year where they finished with 100 points. Next up for the Selke, I'm going a little bit off the board. There is such a clear favorite in Alexander Barkov. I believe he's like plus 150 on most books. And maybe in the bottom of my heart, I do think Alexander Barkov's going to win it just because he's starting to build that Patrice Bergeron kind of narrative that he's the shoe-in every single year. But I went with Joel Eriksson-Ek. I think Joel Eriksson-Ek has been about as consistent as it comes defensively the last 3 to 4 years. He's finished 4th in the Selke, I believe it was 3 to 4 years ago. And the fact that his offensive production is starting to rise, I know that shouldn't matter for the goddamn Selke, but it does. It does. You need to be, it's the best good offensive player that also plays defense. That's what this reward has kind of turned into. So if I'm decently high in the Minnesota Wild, I'm going to be decently high on Joel Eriksson-Ek. I think that he is just so locked down and just doesn't really get the love that he has in prior years, considering the fact that point totals in Minnesota maybe isn't the biggest market. Barkov second, I would bet my life savings on him being a finalist, assuming he plays north of 75 games. He's amazing. Don't get me wrong. Not quite Patrice Bergeron level of consistency defensively, but he's awesome. Probably going to be a finalist. Nick Suzuki is a guy that I thought really went under the radar last year in Selke voting. Personally, for me, he was top 5. I think next season, Montreal is going to be a better team. He's going to get more recognition, and if he's very good defensively yet again, he's going to finish decently high. Nico Hischier, 4th. He was kind of after the 2023 season when he finished 2nd. We thought he was going to be that next perennial Selke winner. I think he's going to have a bounce back year. As I said, that the New Jersey Devils are going to be a pretty goddamn good team under Sheldon Keefe. And then Austin Matthews in 5th place. He was a Selke finalist last year. I don't know if he'll ever win the award. I feel like not the media is against him, but he already wins all the offensive awards. I'm not sure they're ever going to give him a Selke as well, but he has just became so defensively responsible the last 3 years. So he's going to get a fair share of votes, but I'm rooting for Joel Eriksson-Ek, and right now he is my pick heading into next season. Next up, we got the Jim Gregory, and not gonna lie, I kind of hate this award considering the fact it's voted on after the second round of the goddamn playoffs. So I don't know if any of these guys are gonna make it to the Eastern Conference or Western Conference Finals. I'm more so looking at this at a regular season point of view based on what they did this offseason, as well as what I can kind of expect from them at the trade deadline. Full disclosure, last year I did pick Tom Fitzgerald to win it, and obviously that did not work out. Dude did not figure out the goaltending situation until he traded for like Jake Allen on the last day of the deadline, but I have Barry Trotz winning it. Do I love the long-term deals of Stamkos, Marchessault, and Brady Shea? No, I don't. But heading into next season, they are definitely looking like a far better team. On top of the fact that he has 3 goddamn first-round picks to trade at this year's deadline, he's not going to trade for all of them. He can't fit 3 elite players under the salary cap at the deadline. But I think, given the fact that he was so active, so aggressive, and I do think Nashville is going to be a pretty goddamn good team right now. Barry Trotz, I think, definitely has the inside track on potentially winning the Jim Gregory. Tom Fitzgerald went out, got Jacob Markstrom at a solid price, signed Pesci, signed Dylan. He's had a very active summer, and I think, again, New Jersey lends themselves to a lot of awards praise considering the fact that they were so bad last year, and they are at least going to take a 10-point jump. I think we can all agree they're at least going to be like a 90-point team, most likely around the 100 points back in the top 3 of the Metro Division. Julien Brisebois, this is an interesting one. A guy that also was very active this summer, getting a guy like Jake Gensel. I think that was the right decision to pay Jake Gensel $1 million more than what Steven Stamkos got on a 4-year deal. That is a big-time upgrade, in my opinion. I like the Mikhail Sergachev trade for the Tampa Bay Lightning, the fact that they got a blue-chip prospect in Geeky, but also got a guy like J.J. Mosier, and trading away Sergachev, who it's still unsure what Sergachev's going to look like coming off that leg break. He only played 2 games, only played bottom pair minutes in those 2 playoff games coming off it. I don't hate getting off that big contract, and instead going for a guy like Ryan McDonough. Would they give up like a 3rd-round pick to get him at only $6.75 million? He was really good for Nashville last year and is obviously familiar with the John Cooper system. So I really liked what Julien Brisebois did this offseason. Then I got Steve Stamkos. Again, I don't love all his moves this offseason. I'm looking at you, Jacob Chikrin trade, but if Ottawa is a highly competitive team, it's probably because Linus Ullmark's a very good goaltender, and that was Steve Stamkos' number 1 need this offseason, and he fulfilled it, and especially he was able to get off of most of Korpisalo's contract. And then lastly, I got Lou Lamoriello. I think my New York Islanders are going to be a playoff team. I really like the Anthony Duclair signing, the Maxim Toplushkov signing. He could be massive from the KHL, and after a silent deadline last year, I think Lamoriello is going to be really aggressive, and I think my New York Islanders are going to be a playoff team instead of last year needing kind of like a late run at the end. I wouldn't say that they're safely like 2 weeks, 3 weeks to go. We have it locked up, but I think we're going to be a playoff team, and I think Lou Lamoriello, after a pretty shaky 2023 offseason, had a very good 2024 offseason. And then lastly, we have my Calder prediction, and I have Cutter Gauthier winning the Calder for next season. I think Michkov, I think Celebrini are going to be better players for the rest of their careers, but I think heading into next season, I really like the opportunity that Cutter Gauthier is coming in on the Anaheim Ducks, either playing with Mason McTavish, playing with Leo Carlson, a very good passing centers, and on top of that power play, it would not surprise me if he is the go-to one-timer guy on that power play. I could easily see him hitting 30, maybe even 35 25 goals in the regular season versus Matvei Michkov dealing with John Tortorella. Malcolm Celebrini, the San Jose Sharks are probably going to be utter dog shit and just don't have a ton of offense, especially from their blue line. So I like Cutter Gauthier. I know Flyers fans are going to be fucking pissed off. Again, Gauthier does not have the ceiling of Michkov or Celebrini, but I'm decently high on the Anaheim Ducks coming into next season. And this guy just has an absolute freak shot, in my opinion. So playing with potentially Leo Carlsson, the top line of him, Leo Carlsson, and Troy Terry could absolutely cook next season. When looking at Lane Hudson, I'd project like 35-ish points. Very, very solid rookie year for him. And Logan Stankoven's tough. I think he probably has the highest floor out of anybody within this top five, but I'm not sure the ceiling, even though he is on a very good Dallas Stars team, there's a decent chance that he kind of gets stuck on that third line right wing, second power play. I'm not sure the upside is north of like 55. You're going to need at least 60 points in this year's kind of loaded Calder race. I'm not sure Logan Stankoven, unless Wyatt Johnston is on the third line center instead of the first line right wing, but I think they're going to put Wyatt Johnston up there. So I'm just not that high on Logan Stankoven. Will Smith is tough. I feel like Malcolm Celebrini just is the better player. So as a result, Will Smith might get a little bit canceled out by Celebrini. Who else? Dustin Wolf. Calgary stinks. Their defense outside of Uyghur and Anderson stinks. He's probably going to get lit up. Still a very good prospect. Askarov, same logic there. Defense core absolutely blows. But yeah, I'm going to go with Cutter Gauthier to win the Calder. It's a clear top three, in my opinion. I think it's going to be one of the top three, even though Stankoven and Hudson both have very good odds. But I'm going to go with Cutter Gauthier. I was high on Leo Carlsson to win the call or be a potential Calder sleeper. I still picked Connor Bedard last year. But I think if Cutter Gauthier is fully healthy, I could easily see 33 goals, 29 assists for 62 points. Call me crazy. Call me absolutely crazy, but I'm decently high on Cutter Gauthier heading into next season. But yeah, that is my first 4 awards predictions for next season. Let me know in the comments. What do you think about it? Who'd you move up? Who'd you move down? Who'd you take out? Who'd you put in? Who am I absolutely going to be wrong on? Riding with Joel Eriksson-Ek, riding with Cutter Gauthier, riding with Sheldon Keefe, and then who'd I pick for the Jim Gregory? Barry Trotz, New York Islanders legend. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? I'll be seeing you in the next one tomorrow, doing the Hart, Vezina, Norris, or maybe I'll do a tier list before that, but I'll be seeing you tomorrow.